Like and subscribe right now, or you're gonna have terrible luck for the next week. Attractions and danger aren't usually words that belong together. I mean, the whole point of a tourist attraction in the first place is to enjoy the surroundings and forget about our struggles for a second. But apparently, certain attractions are the exact opposite of that. While they offer much-needed, one-of-a-kind experiences, they also have an added layer of fright. Visiting them will have you on the edge. One wrong move, and you'll be gone for good. Welcome to 100M. Today, we'll be showing you the 10 most dangerous attractions in the world. Number 10. Devil's Pool, Zambia. How does the idea of hanging a few inches from the edge of a 320-foot drop sound? That's what you get in Devil's Pool, arguably one of the most peculiar yet intriguing pools in the world. The interesting pool sits right on top of Victoria Falls, just a few inches away from where the water flies off the 100-meter cliff. You can imagine the feeling of knowing that a slight nudge will send you over the edge to crash down with the waters. But interestingly, that has never happened, at least according to the Zambia tourism website. So far, there isn't any recorded incident, probably due to the stringent measures in place. As a rule, visitors aren't allowed to venture into the precariously placed pool on their own. They must be accompanied by a tour guide who knows all the safest steps to take. The visits are also restricted to between August and January, when the water level is a bit low, reducing the chances of being swept over the edge. But even without these precautions, the rock barrier near the edge of the water is quite high. Allegedly, it'll take some serious intentional effort for a swimmer to fall off, so maybe it's not so dangerous if you can disregard its position. Number 9. Half Dome, United States. For an attraction that's supposed to be dangerous, Half Dome in Yosemite Valley, California is quite the rave. At its busiest time, over 1,000 people hike up the 1,400-meter rock formation every day. And just so you know how high the dome is, it takes a whole day just to reach the highest point. But most hikers take several days to walk all the way up, camping as they go along. While the whole trek is physically involving, the last 400 meters tend to be the most challenging. In this last stretch, climbers have to go up almost vertically, which kind of blurs the line between being alive and dead. That is, if you slip at such a height. No worries though, the hiking trail is lined with metal cables that provide assurance against anything as extreme as falling off from that height. But on the other hand, reaching the top of the dome presents a whole other different danger. Since it stands way higher than the surrounding landscape, it's likely to get struck by lightning, which is definitely something you wouldn't want when you're high up there. Number 8. Yungas Road, Bolivia. How will you feel about traveling down a road known as the Death Road? Fear? Anxiety? For the more than 25,000 annual visitors on Yungas Road in Bolivia, it's more of a thrilling experience. The 60-kilometer stretch connects the Yungas region to La Paz City and was once termed as one of the most dangerous roads in the country. This was only natural with its characteristic steep slopes, lack of guardrails, and the fact that it was a narrow, single track. Away from the road structure, there are also severe visibility issues due to rain and fog. And finally, the road itself is curved on a mountainside, which, combined with the above conditions, increases the risk of tumbling down the 900-meter cliff. Before it was abandoned, an estimated 200 to 300 people died every year, mostly from cars sliding down the steep cliff. Today, the road is mainly used by a few locals and mountain bikers. Of course, tragedies still happen, just not as frequently. Number 7. Kjeragbolten, Norway. Kjeragbolten is a rock boulder delicately wedged between two other bigger rocks on Mount Kjerag in Norway's Rogaland County. Below the boulder, there is a 1,000-meter chasm, so one wrong move, and you'll be falling endlessly through space before you finally hit your head on whatever's down there. But so far, nothing of the sort has happened. If anything, Kjeragbolten seems to be doing pretty well as a tourist site. It's a treasured photo prop with long lines forming for visitors looking to capture the perfect Instagram moment. Sometimes, tourists have to wait for as much as an hour to finally get a chance. Number 6. Cliffs of Moher, Ireland. The cliffs of Moher score over 1.5 million visits per year, making them the most popular tourist destination in Ireland. It's easy to see why. At their highest point, they stand at 200 meters over the Atlantic, offering breathtaking views of the nearby scenes including the Mont mountain ranges and Aran Islands. But you know what else they offer? Danger. One wrong step and you'll be on your way cruising through the air towards the Atlantic 200 meters below. But that shouldn't be a problem if you stay on the official designated path, something visitors are encouraged to do. Moving too close to the edge of the cliffs means standing on hanging patches of land, which, combined with the strong winds here, make for a bad touring experience. In 2006, for instance, a woman was swept into the Atlantic after moving close to the edge, and in 2010, a portion of the cliffs collapsed into the ocean. Luckily, there wasn't anyone standing on them at the time, but it was a good illustration of what could go wrong if visitors don't heed the warning to stay away from the edge. Number 5. Mount Everest, Nepal. Is there anyone in the world who hasn't heard of the mighty Everest? It's the highest mountain in the world, standing at over 8,800 meters above sea level, and it seems like it's still going up. According to approximations, the highest point on Earth rises about half a meter with every passing century. Recently, a group of experts from China and Nepal found Mount Everest has risen by a figure of 0.86 meters. That height is why this mega mountain attracts thousands of climbers every year who have one aim: to conquer Everest and claim their honor among fellow climbers, or for whatever reason they chose. And considering just how high it is, getting to the summit is no mean feat. Some don't usually go all the way up, either due to injuries or even death. Since the climbing expeditions began, a little over 3,000 climbers have succumbed on the mountain, and scores have suffered injuries with ranging severity. While the causes of these deaths and injuries vary, avalanches have been cited as being the main culprits, with others being frostbite, altitude sickness, falling, and general exhaustion. In 2015, the worst tragedy in Everest's history hit. An earthquake around the region triggered a massive avalanche that claimed 20 lives and injured many others. For the first time in many years, climbing activities had to be put on hold for a few months. Number 4. Eagle's Nest Cave, US. From the world's highest point, that is Everest, we dive into the Eagle's Nest, a 90-meter deep cave in west central Florida. While it could pass for an ordinary pond on the surface, a few feet below reveals an intricate network of passages, a maze of sorts. Diver's paradise? As long as something doesn't happen to you while you're down there. At such a depth where the only oxygen is the one you've strapped on your back, every minute counts. Having a problem, like getting lost, means you're going to run out of the essential gas before you can make it back up. It's no surprise that the cave is considered one of the most dangerous dives in the world, even earning the title the Mount Everest of cave dives, owing to the lives it has claimed. Number 3. The Huashan Plank Walk, China. Few dangerous attractions come close to the scare that is the Huashan Plank Walk, touted as the most dangerous walk in the world. The whole walk is made of wooden planks nailed into the eastern side of the South Peak, the highest peak on China's Mount Hua. For thrill seekers, the fun is certainly not walking on the planks. It's the thought of being in such a precarious position, 2,100 meters above the ground. There is a layer of safety though. Hikers are usually secured along the cliff with harnesses, which does really help. You can imagine the number of falls if every tourist had to make the 130-meter long trip without a harness. And by the way, it's a round trip, since there is no other way to and from the mountainside. 700 years ago, when a Taoist priest built the planks, things were a bit different. The walk had a religious meaning and lacked the safety measures present today. We can only imagine the number of people who crashed to their deaths for a slight slip-up. But despite the harnesses and all, there are still a few barriers to entry for tourists. Like, for instance, people who are shorter than 5 feet can't take the walk. Other disqualifiers include being older than 50 years or suffering from heart disease, acrophobia, or hypertension.
Now it's time for today's best pick.
Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. water parks. Well, water parks are probably high up on most people's lists of places to visit. That's a given. With the rising temperatures in summer, splashing around in the water offers the perfect relief paired with exhilarating fun. But you might want to rethink your next water park visit. Turns out, these parks might not be as pretty as advertised. First off, with lots of water floating around, the environment at the park is damp for a larger part, which is a perfect survival ground for bacteria and germs in general. And that situation is made even worse by some water park visitors doing their business in the water. You heard that right. Most public recreation water parks have their fair share of urine and fecal matter. And you'll be surprised at just how prevalent this is. A 2013 study by the CDC found that 58% of public pools sampled contained E. coli bacteria, an indicator of poo in the water. If that isn't scary enough, here's another one. The water at parks harbors a host of parasites, which aren't the kind of things you want to deal with. The scary one is popularly known as the brain-eating amoeba, and it, well, eats your brain. The only way it can reach your brain in the first place is if it enters your system through the nose. Pretty easy with water slapping you everywhere. Other risks associated with water parks include electrocution, broken limbs, and exposure to chlorine gas. These don't always happen, but every time you let loose on a water slide, improves their odds.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it really works.
Number 1. Mont Blanc, France. While Mont Blanc doesn't come close to the list of tall mountains on the planet, it has a height to beat. At over 4,800 meters, it's among the tallest mountains in Europe, which gives it certain attention from mountain climbing enthusiasts, just like Mount Everest. Every year, close to 20,000 climbers, experienced and novice, attempt the nearly 5-kilometer trek up the mountain. And while most make it back and forth successfully, some aren't so lucky. According to The Atlantic, about 100 climbers perish every year as they have a go at scaling one of Europe's highest mountains. The high number of climbers, especially during the summer months, has been blamed for this. The more than 20,000 annual visitors mean there's limited space for different parties, especially when they try to pass each other. It also means the guides have a tight schedule to keep up with. So their aim becomes getting one team up and down the mountain as fast as possible, sometimes disregarding safety measures that could very well reduce fatalities. For instance, they sometimes lead climbers up the mountain even when an avalanche is imminent. And in case you didn't know, getting caught by an avalanche on mountain slopes doesn't usually end well. But people seem to be oblivious to these risks, so maybe the death figures will keep piling up every other year, which is a sad reality.